Hello everyone, it's Monday, July 25th, 2022. And as you can see, I'm settled into my new home here and here. And although this doesn't look very different, I will show you that this is after a fresh restart, a fresh reboot. Power button restart. I went through one of those. And with the exception of this icon here, this is how bare a desktop should look. No clock, no notification icons, and the only things running here should be exactly what's running, which in this case is my screen capture software. So that's sort of the starting point of what my new home looks like. Now this first screen will always be occupied by a full screen terminal for my journal. Second screen always by a full screen Jupyter Lab for my thinking in Python as much as I can, having a freeform calculator, a freeform Python thought processor there all the time. Not until my third window do I go to my standard default Microsoft Edge web browser, which is why when I'm testing stuff like this, I will go all the way to screen 4 here. You'll also notice I'm on Windows 10 still, despite various attempts to move to Windows 11. But you can see I know very well that I'm on screen 4 because of these left-right transitions that are so smooth and well done in Windows 10 that have not been moved over to Windows 11 yet. But how this is a new home is what I'm going to screen 4 for. I bring up a terminal and you will see, as usual, it drops me into my Ubuntu environment where I am currently heelless at Lunderwand in my very standard, canonical, almost you would say, folder GitHub where I keep all my repos that I'm always working on. And I am going to do a demonstration. I'm going to bring up the other face of this home now. And I have not taken the full step of dropping myself automatically into it, although I gave it thought. I gave it a nice alias, LXME. And before I actually show that, I will show you in my bash profile that I have created an alias called LXME, which uses the LXC command to execute on a container called glooking-lass, the switch user command to log in as user Ubuntu. So when I type LXME, when I type this, it's going to be executing this. All right. So I quit out of that and I type LXME. Watch the prompt here. It doesn't look like much is going to change. Oh, and it's going to create an error the first time. This is the whole reason I did this fresh restart. Remember I told you I just did a restart here? It's because I wanted to demonstrate to myself the auto restarting nature of this. So when I type that a second time, watch what happens. Now it's running. I have just switched from being user heelless at machine Lunderwand to user Ubuntu at glooking-lass. Glooking-lass. So I have now gone through Lunderwand and into the glooking-lass. And if I were to ls here, this set of directories, and then if I were to escape, exit, you'll see my requester go back out to this other one, and I were to, I guess, shrink this down a little and do an ls here. Now it spaces it a little different, but the directories in here are exactly the same directories as in here because this is mapped in. This is mounted. That is a mounted directory through a command I had done earlier through, I guess it was the LXC interface again, to modify the configuration of the glooking-lass container in order to mount this external drive. It's not even an external drive, it's a directory of the parent. And I'll probably document how I did that because that was one of the super important major things I had to do to take my next step now. And my next step part of it is thinking through it clearly. So I'm going to go into my terminal, for which I stay in Lunderwand. All brings me to my personal journal, but Control Space will bring me to this one. Oh, okay. Because I did an accidental restart before, I'm going to guess that CD remove dot journal. So I had a chopped off a abandoned temporary swap file, which happens sometimes on forced restarts. It was actually from my cat sleeping on my keyboard. I let my cat do its have its fun with my keyboard, but for that price I had to go and delete a temporary file. I might have lost some work, but I doubt very much. This was my last journal entry. I have shortcuts for all these little bits of cleanup I'm doing. Ampersand H in order to add a headline. See what this really was about, the gist of this, because each of these are going to become fairly optimized posts on the internet on their subject matter. Linux has pulled ahead. Because of system, okay. The essence of what I'm trying to say here is that learning Nix, I guess I have to escape that, today means learning system D, which is a almost self-contradictory statement, but I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go ahead and push this one out here. I'll give you a little before and after. We open up this one here. And while that's going on, lev.in. It should just bring me to the site, as it does. And we'll go to the blog for before and after. Do not lose the power of touch typing despite AI APIs. All right, we'll go back here, ampersand P for publish. I guess I had to click on it. Ampersand P for publish. It'll publish just this particular blog. And while that's going on, I'll go over here and bring up Jupyter Lab. When launching Jupyter Lab, it's nice to stay on that virtual desktop until you actually see something appear on your screen, because otherwise if you surf away, it'll appear on whatever screen you surf to, whatever virtual desktop was in the front at the time the window's ready to pop up. So after it appears in any way, you can usually surf back to where you were. I'll do a refresh here. No, too quick on the refresh. It is done here, but oh, it's doing it again. No, I'll let it do it again. What the heck? Oh, it's because I did the keyboard shortcut again. I was just supposed to hit enter. No big deal. We're still waiting for it to catch up with us. So I hit enter here to get out of it. And then I do my ampersand J to start a new blog entry. And now I can think through the stuff for today, which is really pushing myself forward forcibly. This is the forcible push forward, because now I have LXD/LXC containers running as easily as I had imagined. LXD really is like it's built into Linux now. And I'm running Linux under Windows. So LXD feels like it's built into Windows. Now, it has been suggested to me to run Docker for Windows. However, or even LXD for Windows, which I think exists, either of which would give me Linux containers under Windows. But that's not the goal. The goal is Linux containers under Linux in preparation and in preparation for a Windows-free future. Windows is always optional. Any time you're introducing a new development tool from the Windows side, beware. You're being boxed in by Microsoft. All right, so that's definitely how I want to start this whole discussion. And I'll repeat that with exiting out of that terminal entirely, bringing up a terminal, and reminding you exactly how easy it is to go from your Linux host system under WSL to your Linux container system under WSL. And if I wanted to, I could simply edit my bash profile, which you'll see I get to by just typing the word profile. See, when I type profile, I'm vimming my ~/ .bash profile file, which is this. And I guess I could just LXME, use the alias here, quit out of that, exit, and the next time I ran a terminal, you would see the prompt would drop me directly into Ubuntu at Looking Glass, and this would be a wonderful way for me to force myself to be in a container on a daily basis. See, I have forced myself to be in this container. Now, some of the issues issues for today to solve, to forge forward, are, I won't number them. I need a place for big SQLite files. I plan on doing a lot of work that will be database back-ended, if even using the Python dict key value API. So, I plan on doing a lot of stuff that is, say, raw data capture, and I'll be back-ending this raw data capture, which is going to be done using a key value pair because it's easiest to capture your data. Here's my key, which was the request for the data, and here's my value, the raw API response, to sort of, throw the results of a lot of requests into a raw data bucket. And so the containers virtual hard drive does not seem an appropriate place, I'm going to map in probably a location on my home network. From my NAS, Network Application Server device, from my NAS. Putting device would be redundant. I can share drive locations from there. And it's in the context of my, I guess it's kind of like a DMZ of my home network, of my home LAN. That's the best way, of my home local area network. LAN. Behind the router, behind the router. And I guess there's a few ways of saying this, but that's probably the clearest way to the world. So I already have my // GitHub folder mapped, which is, I'll tell you by the way, because that's an interesting mapping. A lot of the fact that this is available here, and so I don't have to reclone all my GitHub repos in order to have this container be so useful, is greatly a result of mapping a location. If I exit out one level back to my host Linux machine, which is still my laptop. This is my laptop. This is my laptop. The Windows 10 outside of it is my laptop. I'll do a refresh here to see if, yeah, there's the new article. Learning Linux today means learning system D. Oh, 404 isn't that nice. I'll have to figure out why. It's probably one of the special characters I used over there. Yep, because these other ones are still showing. Something about the file name. Learning Linux today. Oh yeah, it was the escaping. It was the / escaping. The fact I had to do that in a headline in order to make the well, that was the article down here. Yeah, it's this silly /. If I get rid of that, it'll make the rest of this look like that temporarily, but that's okay, I think. Learning. Yeah, you know what? Let's see what happens there. Let that go. Go back over here. Oh yeah, I was going to CD to / MNT, the mount location, LS. You can see there's a C location here, CDC, CD users, CD my username, and then from there, CD into GitHub. And so this location here is what's mapped. That's what, if I were to do an LS here, that's exactly the same as if I were to go into my container and do an LS there. These two locations are exactly the same. If I were to change a file here, it would change a file here, and vice versa, you see. So there's actually a mapping command of LXC, which I'll bring up, right? See if this has done its job. Not yet. LXC. Actually, we're going to do LXD because the LXD documentation is where it's going to come up, even though it's an LXC command that does it. Mount. LXD mount. How to add or mount. And that's not the official site. This is an Ubuntu one. That's still not official. Here is an official one because that's linuxcontainers.org. But here's one that is on linuxcontainers.org, but is not part of the discussion. It's part of the FAQ, though. Oh, can I bind mount my home directory in a container? Ooh, see, that's an interesting thing. you can mount your whole home directory. Oh, that is so interesting. I may actually end up doing that and see if that GitHub directory also gets mounted the way it's supposed to in turn. So LXC config device, add, container name, home, disk, the actual location, and the path. That's very close to the command that would be required to do that. And I know whether or not I have my home directory by what's in the home directory here. I can cd ... ls. Now, all I did is mount my GitHub and make a virtual directory for Python. But even that would all be alleviated if my parent direct, but then that gets into the polluting of, well, it would only pollute home. It would not pollute all those other directories. And yeah, one home location, a movable home, is very interesting. So before I actually do that, I should probably unmount those previous ones. I feel like I have conflicting mount commands. So it would be LXD see what's mounted. Let me record both of these things, both the command that does the job. Go back to where I typed last. Mount, yeah. Parent, mount, hosts, home, location as containers, home, location, right? If this works, it's actually pretty big news for me and spares me from a bit of the other maintenance work I would actually be doing at this point to copy over a few things like vimrc and other little things that constitute home. So before I go ahead and do this, my next question is then LXD list mounts, remove mounts. How to remove LXD from my system, how to add or mount directory in LXD, how to delete container with LXC, unmount, unmount. This first one looks like the more promising. Not promising. LXC config device. I'm going to not be inside of it. And I'm going to build up with a few small things. First, LXD, and it's going to be LXC LS. So it's going to show what's running. Here's our current one running. And we're going to stop it, LXC stop. And if I were to do the ls again, you could see it stopped. And now the command to do mounting stuff and all was LXC config device. So I'm just going to do that with a help command. Right, okay. So there's add, get, list, override, remove. See, remove container devices, list container devices. So I have a few container devices there, including my .ssh file, because without that you couldn't do any git cloning into there. So we're going to do list. I don't think it liked it. Config device. Oh, we needed a device name, so it's going to be looking glass. Device. Oh yeah, okay. The list comes after, so I almost had it. List. There. So these are my two locations, my SSH location that I made for, keys, and my GitHub location. So I'm going to remove both of those. LXC config device remove. And now I have their names. .ssh. Oh yeah, I needed the remove looking glass .ssh there. And then the other one is GitHub, of course. Now I should be able to use that add command that I had pasted here and adjust it for my situation. So you make sure you don't get a carriage return in the copying of it. I'll clear this. I'll paste it to have a nice fresh view, and I'll backspace. The container name is looking glass. We're going to call it home. Oh, this is very similar to what I wanted. But see this whole home thing user, so interesting. And maybe you can even use the yeah, this is probably going to work. Yeah, and the new users, yeah, that's exactly it. This is the command I need. I'm going to just pull that a little bit smaller so I can copy that for posterity. And then make it a little bit bigger so you can read it for readability. It says it twice, I think, but that doesn't matter. Device home added to looking glass. This is actually quite big. Clear LXME. Oh yeah, container is not running. We do it again. Okay, I guess it's just on restart that it makes it automatically start. If you explicitly stop it, you have to explicitly start it. But if it stopped from a system restart, it'll automatically run again, as I showed at the beginning of this video. This looks like it's going to be about a half hour, just the right amount of time to put such wonderful information into a video. This is the mapping of my WSL, my Windows subsystem for Linux, which is my host Linux environment for this LXD containerization. I'm making the host's home into the container's home. So let's try LXC start looking glass, LXME, which, as you'll remember from my profile, is the same thing as typing this. So I'll actually type that just so that you can see that experience. This is running the looking glass container and switching user immediately to Ubuntu. No such file or directory found, right? So this location isn't really there. So we might have to add that through its own mount, which is no big deal. That's one of the mounts I actually removed. GitHub is from this, yeah, see, this GitHub link, which is inherited from the home of the prior, because I connected in the same way, is not in the same relative path. So we're going to see if a second mount overrides a first for this one. And that is the exact mount location we're going to need. So I exit out of this container because you can see we're in the container now, right? I exit out, and then I get back the command that actually did that last bit of magical mounting. But instead of this, it's going to be GitHub the source because that path makes sense from this context. See, from this context, that path makes sense. And we're going to map that into there. Now we have two mounts. It doesn't like that because that location exists. You can't mount something that already exists. So it seems like I can get the home or the GitHub directory, my whole home or the GitHub directory. Now let's see what happens when I go into that container, LXME, which is the same as that longer start thing here. And so we are inside of the container now. And if I do an ls, yeah, I can see because I knew that install file wasn't there on, so this actually is the host machine's drive. Now I have a GitHub there. Now maybe that messes up the mapping. Okay, cd GitHub. ls-la. It's trying to let me see that the GitHub is there. But I can't technically get to it. So I exit ls here. I'm inside GitHub. I want to cd ... clear ls. Yeah, that's my mount location, of course. cd home, ls, clear, ls, ls-la. I feel like I want to remove this mount. On this home machine, maybe do all my work. Yeah. That may be the wise thing. In for a penny, in for a pound. Always go all the way into a container, knowing that my host machine is almost incorruptible and that my GitHub subfolder is being accessed through a link on both sides. So I need to remove a link here. Linux, remove symlink. Remove symlink, and then the name of it. Remove symlink GitHub. Not remove, no such file or directory. Am I in the right location to start out? Looks like I am. Oh yeah. You just, I got that wrong. You just remove it like that. Now it shouldn't remove the host. the on success. You can delete more than one symbolic link to do that. Remove symlink name. Wow, that's the same as delete. Removes given files and directories. I don't want to delete by accident my whole GitHub directory. Unlink. See, we want to unlink it. That sounds more like it. Maybe it's relative paths, directory I'm in. home/GitHub. There it is right here. And we can tell it's a link. Maybe I have to give the full thing here. Cannot unlink it because it's a directory. Yeah, I have to give the fully qualified path here. Huh. Unlink cannot remove directories. I wonder how I added that link in the first place. You know what? Let's show it from the Windows side. That's the same location as GitHub right in my home directory. So that location I keep going into, I actually keep it here on a very easy to locate Windows side, which is the source of a lot of my my issues. And it's a fairly big directory. I don't like the idea of duplicating it with all its stuff inside of there just for this quick test, but RM sounds pretty scary. But this should be a asked enough question. Does RM delete linked folders or just remove link? Remove or delete symbolic link. I skipped this step, so let me not skip that step. Clear ls-l ~/GitHub. Oh, it's saying no such thing, no such file as directory. So I guess it's, well, let me take a look if it's still in there. Oh, I must have removed it. I've removed it here through one of my commands, which didn't remove it here. And so I'm going to exit out and go back in and make sure it's still removed. The cd command, there's going to be an error. See, I was expecting that because that command wouldn't work. Now my profile over here should not necessarily cd me into that location. Oh, it's read-only. That's weird. Ah! Oh, yeah, I was in the wrong spot. ls. Hey, still good news. The GitHub is not there. But now we want to edit our profile a little bit here because now we definitely want to get rid of that CDing into there. We don't want this to occur. We want to have explicit control. That's what confused me before. And now when I exit and I go back into here, it's a legit test again. This legit test shows me that I have logged into here successfully, and that is not what I want. Oh yeah, it is ls, and no mounted GitHub directory there. That now frees me up to get one of these commands that was way back here somewhere to config source and path. That's a good one. That's a good one. Boom. Config device add to this thing, GitHub, disk source, mount users, GitHub, and that still exists, right? That's still showing here, so that hasn't gone away. Path, home Ubuntu GitHub. That looks all correct, and the error was failed to set up devices. Oh, remove another one of these commands was a list. So we can list what was on here. So home is on here. That's really good. Maybe since we're mapping home in already, this mapping has to be not to here, but to the location where home is coming from. Oh my goodness. To the location. This is where it's going. This is where it's coming from. But maybe where it's going. This seems correct. Wants me to remove a certain thing. I bet these are the links. We got to get rid of this one. Really? Better not be deleting this. I saw something disappear. I think it may be. I'm going to Control C out of that. Holy smokes. Be very, very careful, my friend. So these are directories, but they're not links, so it doesn't look like it should actually be. Let's CD into that. It may be a bunch of individual links. I hope I didn't delete too much from whatever I did a moment ago. This means that whatever I did before, I have to undo symmetrically using the commands from the command line interface. Even though when I do the commands, I've got to make them secondhand now. When I list the ones that are there using a command similar to this, oh, look, there's an S and there's a home. Was it remove? Oh, that S was from Looking Glass itself. Ugh. Okay, so there's just the home directory. So maybe if I stop it. Now that it's stopped, we'll try the mount command. It was saying it was busy. That probably was all that it was necessary, was for me to stop it. Yeah, that's adding the GitHub directory. Oh, device added. Now let me list it again. Oh, the mistake I came so close to making. There they are, GitHub and home. I guess I should make it one smaller so I don't have that floating S. And now if I start it, well, now actually I should do my profile command. And I can't add LXME down here. It would be circular. See, it would be circular, but I can CD into GitHub. I can keep that one, good. And so now let me exit out entirely, go in here and do an LXME. Oh, LS. Oh no, it doesn't have the GitHub folder here. Oh yeah, it wouldn't here, that's fine. And that's why it created that error. But LXME, and it won't get that error because it will be there. Container is not running. LXC start. Failed to run. Try LXC info, show log Looking Glass for more info. Too many levels of symbolic links. Because one symbolic link is definitely inside another symbolic link. There's no doubt about that. I might be best served on changing where my GitHub folder is held so that instead of having that convenient path from the Windows side, but that serves me so well. It serves me so well where Windows, Jupyter Lab, having these locations over here so easily accessible is a matter of that GitHub. Failed to create that directory because it was inside a link from another directory. And so therefore we don't have the GitHub here either. Exit. Oh. LXME. LXC start. We can't even start it because of that error. So if I do LX, let's find that command again. It's the device command. I got to start to memorize these. Config device remove GitHub. Now I should be able to start it just fine. There's nothing in conflict, but likewise we will have no GitHub directory. Certain things that come from the host thing through a remap are not writable. This whole exercise may not be the best thing because mapping home does not seem writable. Vim foo.txt. This is foo, right? Oh, look at that. Can't open file for writing. That is almost certainly a function of mapping the home directory from host over here. Let's see if the place we just did it from, copied that advice from, mentions that. Yeah, see, it's talking about it a little. For unprivileged containers, you will also need, so it should be a privileged container. Yeah, see, working read-write permissions. Either one of those. So it's saying either one of those, even though it's three things. If it's a privileged container, it doesn't have that problem. Pass shift equals true to the LXD config device add call. Wow. Exit, clear, LX. Let's find that device. What is that? What is it that I keep forgetting? LXD config device remove. We're going to even remove home. So now there's not going to be anything mounted on it. Nothing mounted on it. But then I should be able to mount it again with home with that shift equals true to allow it to be writable, which would take care of part of my problem, but not all of my problem of the GitHub repo. Nested symbolic links, LXD. LXD nested symlink. Home. It's too out there. It's too esoteric of a topic. So I am going to wrap up the video, but it's very clear I need to choose between mapping WSL host Linux's home to the LXD container or the GitHub folder, which is itself a symlink on the Linux host, on a Linux host. Catch 22. That's an interesting vid. Do a part 2.